Discipline beats motivation every single time, without any exception in life. Yet most people still chase motivation like it is the real solution. They wait for perfect moods before starting anything meaningful or important. But motivation is unstable and disappears the moment things get difficult. That is why dreams stay dreams for most people forever unchanged. Discipline does not depend on feelings. It depends on decisions you make. Every disciplined action happens even when your mind refuses to cooperate. This is the real difference between successful and struggling people worldwide. Successful people also feel lazy, tired, and unmotivated just like you, but they still act because discipline overrides temporary emotional weakness daily. Motivation is emotional fuel that burns out very quickly in life. Discipline is a system that keeps you moving, even in darkness. When motivation ends, discipline becomes the only reason you continue forward. Most people fail because they rely completely on emotional energy alone. Emotional energy is unstable and changes without warning in seconds. One day you feel unstoppable. Next day you feel completely empty. That emotional instability destroys consistency and long-term success silently over time. Discipline removes the need to feel ready before taking action daily. You don't wait. You act because the system tells you to. That is how real transformation begins in ordinary people's lives. Every habit you build is a vote for your future identity. Small, disciplined actions eventually create massive changes over long periods. People underestimate small actions because results are not immediately visible, but invisible progress always builds visible success later in life. Motivation focuses on starting. Discipline focuses on continuing every single day. Starting is easy, but continuing is where most people fail badly. Discipline is built in moments when you don't feel like trying. Those uncomfortable moments are where real growth actually takes place. Without discipline, even the strongest motivation collapses very quickly and painfully. That is why most motivated people never achieve long-term success. They start fast, but stop even faster than they began. Discipline is not exciting, but it is extremely powerful and reliable. It works silently in the background, while motivation makes loud promises. You don't need more motivation. You need stronger personal discipline systems. Systems keep you moving even when emotions try to stop you. Every successful person builds systems that eliminate decision-making during weak moments, because weak moments are where most failures usually happen repeatedly. Discipline protects your future self from your current emotional decisions. That protection is what creates consistency in high achievers worldwide. They don't feel different, they behave differently because of discipline. Your feelings cannot be trusted when building something meaningful in life. Feelings change too quickly to build anything stable or lasting. Discipline ignores feelings and focuses only on necessary actions daily. That is why discipline always wins against motivation in real life. Motivation inspires, but discipline transforms your entire identity over time. Without discipline, inspiration becomes useless noise inside your mind. With discipline, even small steps become powerful progress toward goals. You don't need perfect conditions. You need consistent execution every day. Consistency is the real secret behind every successful transformation ever seen. And consistency only comes from disciplined behavior, not emotional motivation. If you rely on motivation, your progress will always remain unstable. If you rely on discipline, your progress becomes unstoppable over time. That is the truth most people ignore until it is too late. Discipline builds results quietly, while motivation disappears without warning constantly. And that is why discipline beats motivation every single time in life.
Discipline becomes powerful only when you understand how habits control your life. Every habit you repeat is silently shaping your future without permission. Most people underestimate habits because they look small and harmless daily. But small habits compound into massive life outcomes over time consistently. Motivation cannot compete with habits because habits operate automatically every day. You don't need motivation to brush your teeth or lock your door. That is because those actions became disciplined habits over time, naturally. The same principle applies to success. Discipline must become automatic behavior. If you depend on motivation, every task feels like a battle. But when discipline becomes habit, action feels natural and effortless daily. Your brain loves efficiency, so it repeats familiar patterns constantly. That is why bad habits feel easier than good habits initially. Discipline is simply rewriting those automatic patterns with better choices repeatedly. It is not about intensity, it is about repetition over time. Most people fail because they try changing everything at once. That creates burnout and eventually leads back to old habits. Discipline works slowly, but it works permanently when applied correctly. You don't need big changes. You need consistent small improvements daily. Even one disciplined action per day can change your entire direction. But skipping one action weakens the trust in yourself slowly. Self-trust is the foundation of all discipline and consistency in life. Without self-trust, even the best motivation feels meaningless and temporary. Every time you break a promise to yourself, discipline weakens inside. And every time you keep a promise, discipline becomes stronger silently. This is how identity slowly gets rebuilt through repeated behavior patterns. You are not what you say. You are what you repeat daily. Motivation talks, but discipline proves your identity through actions only. That is why actions matter more than emotions or intentions ever. People think they lack motivation, but they actually lack consistency systems. Systems remove the need for constant decision-making during weak moments. Without systems, every choice becomes emotionally exhausting and mentally draining. Discipline reduces mental load by creating structured, predictable routines daily. That structure protects you from emotional instability and sudden distractions. Motivation changes with mood, but discipline remains stable, regardless emotions. Even on bad days, disciplined systems keep you moving forward. That is what separates achievers from people stuck in cycles. Discipline doesn't require perfect energy. It requires minimum consistent effort. Even small effort is enough when repeated over a long time. The problem is people expect instant results from small efforts. When results don't appear quickly, motivation disappears completely from mind. Discipline continues even when results are invisible for long periods. That invisible phase is where most people quit unnecessarily in life. Success is built in silence long before it becomes visible. Discipline keeps you working in silence while others lose patience. Patience and discipline always work together in long-term success stories. Without patience, discipline feels painful and unsustainable for most people. But with patience, discipline becomes peaceful and deeply rewarding eventually. You stop chasing motivation because discipline gives you direction automatically. Direction is more powerful than temporary emotional excitement in life. Excitement fades, but direction keeps you moving steadily forward always. That is why disciplined people outperform motivated people over time. Because discipline does not depend on emotional stability or mood. It depends on commitment, structure, and repeated consistent daily action. And that is why discipline beats motivation in every situation. Every single time, without exception, discipline always wins in life. Now, the real question is why discipline still feels so difficult. The answer lies in your brain's natural resistance to discomfort and effort. Your mind is designed to avoid pain and choose easiest options. That survival wiring once protected humans from danger and exhaustion daily. But in modern life, it destroys progress and long-term success instead. Every time you try doing something hard, resistance immediately appears inside. That resistance is not failure, it is your brain protecting energy. Energy conservation is useful for survival, but harmful for growth goals. This is why discipline feels like fighting your own mind constantly. You are not weak. You are biologically programmed for comfort first. Discipline is simply overriding that programming with conscious repeated decisions daily. That is why it feels uncomfortable at the beginning stages always. Growth never feels natural because your brain resists unfamiliar behavior strongly. Familiar habits feel safe, even if they destroy your future slowly. This creates a constant war between comfort and progress inside you. Most people choose comfort without even realizing they are doing it. Every delay, excuse, or distraction is comfort winning that internal battle. Discipline means choosing long-term reward over short-term emotional relief repeatedly. That choice feels small, but changes everything in your life direction. One disciplined decision can break years of destructive behavior patterns. But one comfort decision can also reinforce failure cycles again strongly. That is why daily choices matter more than big life decisions. Your future is built in small, invisible decisions nobody notices. Discipline lives in those small decisions repeated again and again, not in motivation bursts, but in boring, consistent daily execution. Boredom is actually where real transformation quietly starts happening internally, because discipline grows strongest when excitement is completely removed from process. If you need excitement, you will always struggle with consistency. Real discipline continues even when nothing feels exciting or rewarding. That is the stage where most people give up completely. They mistake boredom for failure instead of understanding it properly. But boredom is actually a sign of mental adaptation happening inside. Your brain is slowly accepting new disciplined behavior patterns gradually. That acceptance takes time, repetition, and emotional resistance, initially always. If you quit during that phase, transformation never completes fully. Discipline requires surviving the uncomfortable middle phase of growth. That middle phase is where identity slowly begins to shift. You stop seeing yourself as inconsistent and start becoming reliable. But that change happens silently, without any dramatic external signals. Most people quit before identity change becomes visible in life, because progress feels too slow to emotionally satisfy expectations quickly. Discipline ignores emotional satisfaction and focuses only on long-term direction. That is why it feels difficult, but produces powerful results later. Every disciplined repetition strengthens neural pathways in your brain structure. Those pathways eventually become default automatic behavior patterns permanently. That is how discipline becomes effortless after enough repetition over time. Effort turns into identity when repetition becomes strong enough daily, and identity becomes behavior without needing motivation anymore at all. That is the final stage of discipline transformation in humans. At that stage, you no longer fight yourself for action. You simply act because that is who you are now. No motivation required, no emotional debate, no internal resistance anymore. Only clear direction and automatic execution based on identity strength. And that is the real power of discipline over motivation. Discipline eventually removes the need for motivation completely from life. Self-doubt continues to weaken when you build strong academic discipline. Discipline helps you study even when motivation is low. Consistent effort reduces uncertainty about your abilities. You start trusting your ability to handle academic challenges. Confidence grows when you keep promises to yourself. Every study session completed strengthens self-belief. Self-doubt decreases when you prove consistency through action. Action is more powerful than repetitive negative thinking. You begin replacing fear with structured study routines. Routine removes randomness from your academic life. Predictability in study habits reduces mental stress. Stress often fuels academic self-doubt unnecessarily. Organized schedules create a sense of control. Control strengthens confidence during preparation phases. You feel more ready when preparation is planned. Planning reduces last-minute panic and confusion. Confusion often triggers self-doubt before exams. Clear plans improve focus and direction. You know exactly what to study each day. This clarity eliminates hesitation and procrastination. Self-doubt weakens when you measure progress regularly. Tracking evidence of growth. Evidence is stronger than emotional doubt. You begin seeing how much you are actually learning. Awareness of progress builds motivation naturally. Motivation encourages further academic effort and consistency. Consistency strengthens long-term academic confidence. Avoid skipping study days without reason. Gaps in routine increase uncertainty and doubt. Stability in routine creates mental security. You become more comfortable with difficult subjects over time. Repeated exposure reduces fear of complex topics. Familiarity replaces anxiety with understanding. Understanding builds academic confidence steadily. Confidence reduces hesitation during exams and tests. You begin solving problems more calmly. Calm thinking improves accuracy and performance quality. Panic decreases when you trust your preparation. Trust develops through repeated practice and effort. Practice transforms weakness into strength gradually. Self-doubt fades when you focus on learning, not perfection. Perfection creates unnecessary pressure on students. Progress-based thinking reduces academic stress significantly. You start appreciating improvement instead of perfection. Improvement becomes your main academic goal. Small wins build long-term academic confidence. Each success reinforces your ability to learn. Reinforcement reduces negative thinking patterns over time. You stop doubting every small mistake. Mistakes become part of learning rather than failure. Self-doubt also decreases when you seek help when needed. Asking questions improves understanding and confidence. Support from teachers strengthens academic clarity. Clarified doubts reduce fear of difficult topics. You realize you are not learning alone. Support systems reduce emotional pressure in studies. Encouragement improves motivation and persistence. Positive feedback strengthens belief in your abilities. You start seeing yourself as capable and improving. Confidence becomes stronger than self-doubt. Academic growth becomes a steady, structured process. You rely more on preparation than fear. Fear loses control over your academic mindset. You develop a balanced and confident learning approach. Part 4 ends, showing discipline and structure defeating self-doubt.